my name is Holly Crafton, and I would like to talk to you about the Kinect and how it can be used for education. Education has changed over the years. In the past, teachers were expected to lecture for hours. They would stand in front of the whiteboard or chalkboard, and students would be given paper and pencil assignments to complete, such as worksheets. That's all in the past. Now, educators are required to facilitate learning, not to teach through endless lectures. The current trend is towards technology. Technology is now integrated into the classroom. In my kindergarten classroom alone, I have a desktop computer, a projector, an Apple TV, an iPad, a class set of iPods, 8 Chromebooks, and a microphone in order for my students to hear me better. Brain research has showed that students have 1 minute of attention span for each year of life. So that means that in my kindergarten classroom, my students have 5 to 6 minutes of attention before they need to be reset. This means that students need to be involved in moving in order for the maximum amount of learning to take place. Howard Gardner had a multiple intelligences theory. He stated that there were 8 learning intelligences: verbal linguistic, logical mathematical, spatial, musical, bodily kinesthetic, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and naturalistic. The activities in our classrooms need to integrate learning for more than one learning intelligence. And ideally, in a unit, there should be plenty of learning activities that facilitate learning for each learning intelligence multiple times. The Kinect is ideal for kinesthetic learners as it has learners up and moving, completing mathematical problems or other types of games. The Kinect is a device that looks about like this. It's a panel. It was originally created for the Xbox 360 to facilitate moving games like bowling, where individuals can throw a bowling ball without actually holding a controller. So it's actually a motion sensing device that can capture, track, and decipher body movements, gestures, and voice. So you no longer need a keyboard, joystick, or controller. You just need to have the space available for students to move. And this device is actually fairly affordable. They have made one now for Windows computers. So a teacher could purchase one on Amazon for about $149.99, and then just install the software and it can be projected up with the classroom projector for students to play games. This is a fantastic way for students to show their number sense. For my kindergartners, they could show that 6 is greater than 3 and show that number sense that they're trying to learn. In higher grades, students might be able to manipulate a graph for calculus. Math is an ideal subject to learn on the Kinect. The physical action influences mathematical cognition. When the Kinect was incorporated to Sesame Street, cognition improved in 3- and 4-year-olds. The Kinect supports kinesthetic pedagogical practices. It's interactive and engaging, so students are more willing to learn. It's also a multisensory approach. What I mean by multisensory is you're using more than one sense in order to achieve the task. Currently in my class, I use a special type of sand for students to trace. So if they're learning the letter S, they would trace S says S. And so they're both feeling, they have the touch, they're saying it, they have the verbal, and they're visually seeing the information, and they're really learning those letters. And I've seen growth improve dramatically using this method than traditional paper and pencil learning for the letters. Now the Kinect is also a multisensory approach. Students are visually seeing the game up on the board, they're hearing it, so that's visual, auditory, and they're moving, that's kinesthetic. So the 3 movements together are helping them really learn the information. So if it's a game that's geared towards a mathematical idea, they're really getting that idea. It also, since they are moving around, they're getting that muscle memory, they're getting that kinesthetic movement memory, and they're getting better physically as well as mentally. Students are also much more engaged with these games. We are in a world now where students go home, they have iPads, TVs, they're constantly engaged with video games and TV shows and all kinds of things, whereas they get to school with their paper and pencil, listening to lectures, and they're just bored. They don't want to learn, they don't see the purpose, it's just not engaging for them. These games are engaging for them. They're interested, they want to learn, they want to play the games. So it keeps them focused for a longer period of time and really practicing those skills. These games encourage collaboration, so students are working together to solve problems and communicating with each other. The movement also facilitates learning for the kinesthetic learners. They really need that movement in order to understand the concepts, which traditional learning does not facilitate. Traditional learning more focuses on visual and verbal learners. It really doesn't help kinesthetic learners, so all different types of learners can be helped with this kind of game. Carmen Petrick Smith is an assistant professor of mathematics at the University of Vermont. So he did a study with 3rd and 4th graders, and he compared the way they learned angles in the traditional manner with a teacher up at the whiteboard teaching angles and how to calculate them, and then had them play the game on the Kinect where they made the angles with kinesthetic movement. And the Kinect, when they were using the Kinect, they learned way more than they would have with the traditional learning. It was very successful. There's also a website dedicated for the Kinect and education. It's called kinecteducation.com. This website is fantastic because educators are able to collaborate. Many educators make their own games for the Kinect. They're able to upload those, and then maybe less tech-savvy teachers are able to download them and utilize them in their classroom. There's also a forums area where teachers can collaborate with lesson plans and other ways to facilitate this type of learning in their classroom. A company called Jumpedo offers multiple types of games for the Kinect in the classroom. These include, for kindergarten, these include number sense, addition, and subtraction games, and these all benefit learning. Currently in my class, we've been studying addition. I've noticed that my students were disengaged, they weren't understanding the concept. When I asked them to work independently instead of whole group, they were not able to complete a simple problem. So I decided to let students create their own math problems. So they would come up to the board, tell their number story, and then ask for help from their peers in order to calculate out what the sum would be and create their number sentence. With this method, my students were engaged. They were all raising their hand. They all had a math problem to share, and they were working together to come up with the right answer. So students were engaged for a longer period of time and were communicating and collaborating with each other. I saw so much more learning happening in the 2 days of doing that process than the 2 weeks we spent with traditional learning. I can only imagine how engaged they would be if I had a kinesthetic game for them to play to learn these same addition skills. If they could get on the Kinect and use movement and work together and collaborate to solve math problems, they would be engaged and they would learn so much more. This collaboration is crucial for learning. Communication and collaboration skills are needed for later grades, in college, and later on in future careers. The Kinect is a fantastic way to facilitate learning, collaboration, and communication. I hope to integrate this tool in my classroom in the near future. Here are my fabulous references. Thank you for your time.